In the great space of the galaxy, there were many powerful races that had built warships that could fly faster than light and destroy planets with a single strike. These ships were symbols of pride and power. Every year, a great gathering was held at the Galactic Center, where all civilizations showed their best ships and newest technologies. The aliens called it the Grand Fleet Exhibition. It was a show of might and also a way to remind each other who ruled the stars. When the humans arrived that year, everyone laughed. Their ship was slow. It looked old. It was not shining like the crystal ships of the Aryans or huge like the metal beasts of the Kral Empire. The human ship moved slowly into the display zone, and everyone started whispering that maybe humans had come to the wrong place. The ship was named the Vanguard. It had thick armor and heavy structure, but it looked clumsy compared to the light and sharp alien vessels. Reporters from different worlds started calling it the slow turtle of Earth. Some said it must be a cargo ship, not a warship. Others said maybe humans had no idea how to build real fighting ships. Captain Reynolds stood on the bridge of the Vanguard and looked at the screens showing hundreds of alien ships around him. He heard the jokes on the public channels. He did not answer. His face stayed calm. His crew also heard the comments, but no one spoke back. They knew what they had built. The captain quietly ordered the communication officer to switch to silent mode. He only said one line, "Let them laugh." The crew smiled slightly because they trusted their captain. He had been part of the project from the first day, and he knew the ship better than anyone. The alien leaders took turns giving speeches about progress and unity, but everyone knew it was more about showing power. When it was the human turn, the representative from Earth spoke briefly, saying that the Vanguard was built not to impress, but to survive. Many in the hall laughed again. The delegate from the Kral Empire stood and said that in a real battle, speed and energy decide victory, not survival. Humans smiled politely and said nothing. After the presentation, the crowd gathered around the different ships. People admired the bright colors and sleek design of alien warships. Then they walked past the human ship like it was a piece of junk. A group of alien cadets even took pictures mocking it. One said it probably takes a century to cross a star system. Another said maybe it runs on old engines. Captain Reynolds saw them from the window and just kept watching quietly. Inside the ship, the crew worked hard to keep systems stable. The Vanguard was built differently. Its engines were not made for bursts of speed. They were designed for long travel and extreme environments. Its armor was made from layered composite plates that could absorb energy and turn it into reserve power. Few outside humans knew about it. The project had started years ago when humans faced radiation storms near the edge of the galaxy. Most ships of other races would have been destroyed there. The human engineers realized that power is not only about attack but also about endurance. So they made a ship that could take punishment and keep fighting. In the mess hall that night, the younger officers talked about how everyone laughed at them. One of them said maybe we should have stayed home. Another said maybe the others are right and we are behind in technology. Captain Reynolds entered the room quietly and sat with them. He said that a soldier does not measure strength by words but by how long he can stand when the storm comes. The room became silent. Everyone respected him because he had fought in the old wars. He told them to rest and be ready because the next day there would be the fleet demonstration, where every civilization would show the power of its ships. The next morning, the Galactic Council opened the demonstration field. Thousands of observers filled the viewing stations. Alien commentators shouted in excitement as one by one the fleets began to move. The Aryans displayed their blue ships that could fold light and appear invisible. The Kral Empire fired plasma cannons across empty space, cutting through asteroids. The audience cheered. Then it was time for the humans. The Vanguard entered the field slowly. It did not have a flashy start. It moved with heavy steps like an ancient beast. The crowd laughed again. Some commentators joked that they should call for a tug to help the slow ship move. But the human crew did not react. Captain Reynolds gave calm orders. The ship locked its systems and began the test. The simulation drones were released to attack from multiple sides. Each drone carried energy weapons to test shield resistance. The first wave fired. The bright beams hit the Vanguard directly. The screens flashed, but when the smoke cleared, the ship was still moving forward. The energy readings surprised the judges. The ship's shields did not weaken much. The second wave attacked harder. Again, the same result. The drones started increasing power levels. Still, the Vanguard absorbed the hits. Some alien scientists leaned forward trying to understand what they were seeing. The energy seemed to vanish when it touched the armor. It was as if the ship was feeding on the attacks. Captain Reynolds looked at his crew and gave a small nod. He ordered a single shot. The ship's main cannon fired once. The beam hit one of the drones and it exploded instantly. Then he fired again, hitting 2 more. The entire field went silent. Even the commentators stopped talking. The human ship that everyone mocked was destroying the targets with perfect accuracy. It was slow, but each move was calculated. It did not waste energy. It did not rush. It simply advanced step by step, destroying every target in its path. When the test ended, the ship was barely scratched. The alien spectators were confused. The council requested data, but the humans politely declined. They said it was classified. Some accused them of cheating, but the readings confirmed that the ship used only its own systems, no external help. After the demonstration, the mood changed. Some alien officers started saying maybe the humans had discovered something new. Others said it was luck. A few still mocked, but their voices were weaker now. Captain Reynolds received a short message from Earth Command saying, "Well done," and maintain silence. He smiled. That night in the docking area, the alien engineers came to see the human ship closely. They asked questions, but the crew answered politely without giving much detail. They said the secret was patience and time. The aliens did not understand. They thought humans were hiding advanced weapons, but the truth was simpler. The Vanguard was built around an idea that no one in the galaxy cared about anymore. The idea that survival was the first victory. As the days passed, the story of the slow ship spread through the network. Many started calling it the Silent Fortress. Some called it the Stone Whale. Others still refused to believe that something so slow could be that strong. Captain Reynolds ignored all of it. He only cared that his crew believed in the mission. One evening, he stood alone at the viewing deck watching the stars. He thought about the years of work that went into building the ship. The sacrifices of the engineers who tested the systems in dangerous zones. He remembered the promise they made to create something that could keep humanity safe in any war. He knew more challenges would come. He also knew that in the galaxy full of fast ships and loud captains, there was still a place for a slow and steady warrior. Back at the main station, the Galactic Council discussed what they had seen. Some members said humans should be invited to share their technology. Others warned that humans might become too powerful if their designs were copied. A few argued that it was only one ship and not a real threat, but deep inside many felt uneasy. They realized that they had mocked something they did not understand. The Krull Admiral, who had laughed the loudest before, now watched the recording of the test again and again. He noticed how the Vanguard never wasted a shot. He told his staff that humans might not be fast, but they are dangerous because they wait. They learn. They endure. When Captain Reynolds received the invitation to return to Earth, he felt both relief and pride. His ship had done its job. It had spoken for all humans without saying a word. As the Vanguard slowly left the exhibition field, the alien crews watched in silence. No one laughed this time. The big ship moved slowly, but its presence filled the space with quiet power. Captain Reynolds looked at the crew and said, "We will go home the same way we came, with calm hearts and strong faith." The engines hummed softly and the stars stretched outside the window. The laughter of the galaxy was now replaced by curiosity and respect. The slow human warship that everyone mocked had shown the first glimpse of its true power, and this was only the beginning of what the humans were capable of when they chose to be patient. The news about the human ship spread fast across the galaxy. On every channel, people talked about the Vanguard and its strange power. Some said the humans had used secret alien technology. Others said the ship had hidden weapons that were not allowed in the fleet demonstration. A few believed that maybe the humans were just lucky, and the tests were easier for them. But no one could explain how the ship had survived attacks that could destroy much faster and newer ships. Scientists began asking for data from the Galactic Council, but Earth refused to release any files. They only said that the Vanguard used an old human design based on endurance and energy control. This made other races even more curious. Inside the human fleet, command people were quiet but proud. For years, they had listened to aliens calling humans weak and slow, but now everyone was talking about their strength. Captain Reynolds was called to a private meeting with the High Command. He reported every detail of the exhibition and handed over the recordings. The leaders told him to keep everything classified and to continue testing in deep space. They said that soon there might be a time when the Vanguard would be needed not for show, but for real battle. The captain understood and saluted without question. The ship was ordered to move to a remote system near the edge of the spiral arm, where the signals from other galaxies were weak. It was a silent area where the stars were old, and the light moved slowly through dust clouds. The crew did not complain. They knew this mission was important. As they traveled through the dark space, the captain often walked through the long corridors of the ship, watching the steady pulse of the engine lights. He knew every sound of the machine. The slow rhythm was like a heartbeat to him. During the long journey, he thought about how the Vanguard was born. It had started as a dream of a small group of engineers who wanted to make a ship that could survive in any condition. They worked in secret in a hidden base near the asteroid belt. The leader of the project was an old scientist who believed that technology should not always be fast but smart. He said that in war, the strongest side is not the one who strikes first, but the one who stays until the end. When others built lighter ships for speed, he built heavier ones for survival. Many laughed at him too, but he never stopped. Captain Reynolds had been a young officer back then, helping to test early engines. He remembered the explosions and failures that nearly destroyed the lab many times, but slowly they improved. They found a way to use radiation itself as part of the ship's energy cycle. That was the birth of the Vanguard. Now, as the ship crossed silent sectors, the crew started to see strange signals. Faint transmissions appeared on the radar from unknown sources. They looked like broken distress calls. At first they thought it was noise from dying stars, but the pattern repeated too clearly. The message said, "Help us, the darkness is coming." The crew reported it to the captain. He ordered them to record every signal. When they sent the data back to Earth Command, the answer was short. Do not respond, stay on course, observe only. The humans were cautious. They knew that many races used false signals to trap ships, but something about the message made the captain uneasy. As days passed, the signals grew stronger and clearer. The source was coming from a system beyond the known map. The navigation computer showed it was near the edge of a dark void where even the starlight faded. The captain stood before the large screen showing that black region. He said softly that sometimes the things people fear to explore are the things that hold the truth. The crew watched him silently because they knew he was thinking about whether to follow the orders or his own instinct. At the same time, in the Galactic Council Hall, the alien leaders argued about the humans again. Some said they should be forced to share the secrets of the Vanguard. Others said it was too dangerous to provoke them. The Krall Admiral said that if humans could build one such ship, they might build more and one day challenge the balance of power. The Orion leader said that humans were unpredictable because they hid their true strength behind simple words. The council decided to keep humans under observation. They sent spy drones to follow the Vanguard from a distance, but the humans detected them easily and destroyed them without saying anything. The message was clear: stay away. One night during the journey, the ship passed through a field of debris from old battles. Metal pieces floated in darkness and silent echoes of past wars surrounded them. The sensors showed marks of unknown weapons on the wrecks. Some of the designs did not match any known alien fleets. The captain realized that these might be remains from the same force that sent the distress signals. The engineer said that the materials looked strange, like they had been burned by energy that twisted space itself. The crew became quiet. They all felt something cold in their hearts. Then suddenly new signals appeared, stronger than before. This time they came with coordinates and an image of a small planet orbiting a dim red star. The message was the same word repeated again and again: help us. The captain looked at his officers. He knew command had ordered silence, but he also knew that if someone was calling for help, they could not ignore it. After a long pause, he said, "Change course to the signal source." The crew obeyed without question. When they reached the system, they saw no living ships, only wrecks and burned surfaces. The planet was scarred and covered with deep cracks. The readings showed high radiation, but faint life signs underground. The captain ordered landing drones. As the drones descended, they recorded images of broken cities and strange symbols on walls. The language was unknown. Then a faint voice came through the communication line. It was weak, but it said, "We waited for you. We did not think you would come." Everyone froze. The captain asked, "Who are you?" The voice replied, "We are the last of the Olyari, the ones who warned the council, but no one listened." Then the signal faded again. The captain looked at the crew. He remembered how the council had laughed at them. He wondered if the Olyari had been mocked too. He decided to dig deeper. The ship began scanning the planet. They found a small structure buried under ice. The team used drones to enter. Inside, they found ancient machines still running on low power. The recordings they recovered showed a story of war. The Oliari had fought an enemy from outside the galaxy, something made of living energy that consumed worlds. They tried to warn others, but no one believed them. The captain realized that the distress signals were warnings not for help, but for preparation. He sent the data to Earth Command. This time the answer came quickly. Do not share this with the Council, return immediately. The captain understood that something big was coming. On the way back, they passed through the same debris field again. The sensors detected movement. Unknown ships appeared on the edge of the radar. They did not match any known signature. The crew prepared for battle, but the ships vanished as quickly as they appeared. The captain said quietly that maybe the darkness that destroyed the Oliari was now awake again. Back on the main route, they received another message, this time from the Galactic Council, calling for a new meeting. The aliens wanted to discuss the reports of strange attacks in outer sectors. Many cargo fleets had gone missing and entire mining stations had gone silent. The captain understood that soon everyone would remember the slow human warship they laughed at, because when the real danger came, they would look for the one who could endure. When the Vanguard finally returned to the central base, it carried with it the silent warning of the lost civilization. The engineers started to check every system and prepare for possible combat. The captain stood before his crew and said that the galaxy thinks speed and fire decide war, but the next battle will test who can survive the longest night. The crew nodded. They had seen the signs of what was coming. Far away in the darkness beyond the last stars, something stirred. A wave of strange energy moved through empty space heading toward the living worlds, and somewhere deep inside the Vanguard, the ancient engines continued to hum quietly, ready for what was waiting ahead. The meeting at the Galactic Council was crowded and tense. Reports from many systems had arrived during the last few weeks. Entire fleets had disappeared and outposts had gone silent. The alien races that once laughed at each other now spoke in fear. No one knew who was attacking, or how it was possible that no trace was left behind. Some believed it was a new kind of weapon. Others whispered that it might be something not from this galaxy. The council called for all major fleets to be ready for defense. The human delegate listened quietly and said little. Many of the other leaders still remembered how the human warship had surprised them before. Some looked at the delegate with new respect, while others still tried to act proud. Far from the council chamber, the Vanguard was already preparing for new missions. Captain Reynolds received secret orders to patrol the outer rim and collect information about the missing fleets. He gathered his officers in the control room and explained that they were going into dangerous zones where no one else dared to go. The crew nodded. They had seen what waited in the dark. They knew the warnings from the lost Oliari civilization were not lies. The ship left the base quietly and once again moved into the deep unknown space where the stars were thin and cold. For days, the scanners showed nothing. The silence of the void was heavy. Then one night, the radar picked up a weak signal. It was a small transport ship drifting without power. The captain ordered a rescue team to investigate. When they boarded the ship, they found no crew alive. The walls were burned and the energy cores were empty. But the strange thing was that there were no holes or signs of weapons. It was as if the energy had been drained out of the ship itself. The engineer said softly that it looked like the ship had been eaten from the inside by something invisible. They took samples and returned. The scientists on board studied the remains and found traces of unknown energy patterns. It did not match any known radiation type. It was alive in some way, like it was feeding on power. The captain sent the report to Earth and waited for response. The answer came quickly. Stay alert and gather more data. Command did not say much, but he could tell from the tone that they already feared the truth. The enemy that destroyed the Oliari might have returned. As the Vanguard continued its mission, it found more wrecks. All of them had the same signs. No bodies, no damage, just empty shells. The captain began to understand that the enemy did not fight in the usual way. It did not fire or invade. It simply took energy, life, and matter, leaving only silence behind. The crew became restless. Some whispered that maybe it was a ghost force. The captain kept them calm, reminding them that fear is the first victory of the enemy. One day, the scanners detected a large object moving at high speed. The crew prepared for combat. As it came closer, they realized it was an alien battleship from the Kral Empire. Its engines were weak and its structure was damaged. They opened communication but got no answer. The captain ordered to pull it with a tractor beam. When the alien ship stopped near them, they saw faint lights inside. A team entered carefully. The halls were dark and quiet. Only the sound of footsteps echoed. They reached the command deck and found the crew frozen in strange positions like statues made of glass. The scientists scanned and found that their bodies had been drained of all energy. It was the same pattern as before. The captain ordered to leave immediately and destroy the ship with a controlled blast. He said that whatever did this might still be there. After destroying the ship, they moved away quickly. The crew worked day and night checking every system for any trace of the strange energy. The sensors began to show small spikes around the rear section. The captain ordered power down. For a few moments, everything went dark. Then on the external cameras, they saw something move. It was a shape of black mist sliding over the hull. When they turned on a small light beam, it disappeared instantly. The captain understood it was feeding on energy, so they had to stay cold and silent. He ordered to remain in low power mode until it was gone. Hours passed like days. No one moved or spoke. Then finally the readings went flat again. The ship slowly came back to life. The captain sent a message to command describing the event. Earth Command replied with one line. "Do not engage, wait for further orders." The crew felt that waiting would only make things worse. The captain agreed, but he knew they could not act alone. So he started collecting all data and building a map of where each attack had happened. Soon a pattern appeared. All the missing fleets had vanished along a curved line leading toward the central regions of the galaxy. It looked like the enemy was moving in a path slowly heading to the core where most civilizations lived. He decided to warn the council even if they would not believe him. He sent a report through secure channels showing the map and energy readings. At first, the council ignored it. Then new reports arrived from other sectors confirming his data. The aliens who had mocked the humans before now asked for help. They said the humans had experience with endurance ships, maybe they could find a way to stop the invisible threat. The captain received official orders to lead a joint mission with ships from several species to track and study the unknown enemy. When the combined fleet gathered near a dead star, the other commanders looked at the vanguard with mixed feelings. Some remembered their earlier laughter and now felt ashamed. Others still doubted. The captain greeted them calmly and explained the plan. They would spread out in a wide formation and use energy pulses to lure the enemy. Then they would track its movement and study its nature. The fleet agreed. They started the operation. At first, nothing happened. Then suddenly one of the scout ships vanished from the radar. No explosion, just silence. The nearby ships detected strange distortions around that spot. The captain shouted orders to reduce energy output. The vanguard switched to minimum power. On the main screen, they saw a dark cloud forming in space like smoke swirling in vacuum. It grew bigger and moved toward them. The alien commanders panicked, firing all their weapons at it, but the beams only made it stronger. The cloud absorbed the energy and expanded. The captain realized the truth. The more energy they used, the stronger it became. He ordered all ships to shut down weapons and go dark. Some obeyed, others did not. The ones who kept firing were swallowed by the dark wave and disappeared. The remaining ships followed the vanguard and went silent. Slowly the cloud began to fade. It drifted away like a shadow. When the danger passed, the fleet counted their losses. Half the ships were gone. The alien commanders looked at Captain Reynolds with disbelief. He had saved them by doing nothing, by staying still while they attacked blindly. The captain told them that sometimes silence is the best defense. The others nodded, though their pride hurt. After the event, the fleet returned to the council to report. Many leaders were shocked. They could not understand how such an enemy could exist. The humans called it the Void Eater. The scientists studied the data and found that the dark cloud was made of living energy, feeding on radiation and technology. It was a creature born in the empty spaces between galaxies. It moved like a storm and grew by consuming power. The council realized that no weapon could stop it because all energy only fed it. The captain proposed a plan to create a trap using the Vanguard's unique armor and energy core. Since the ship could absorb and redirect energy, it might be the only one able to contain the creature. The idea was risky. If they failed, the ship and crew would be lost forever. But there was no other choice. The council agreed. The captain accepted the mission without hesitation. He said that humans had built the ship to survive the impossible, and now it was time to prove it again. The fleet began preparing. The aliens sent support ships and scientists to assist. For the first time in history, so many species worked together. The slow human warship that everyone had mocked became the center of their hope. As they built the energy trap around a dead sun, the captain walked through his ship checking every section. He spoke to his crew, telling them that they were not fighting for pride but for the life of all. They understood. When everything was ready, the fleet moved away, leaving the Vanguard alone near the dying star. The sensors detected movement in the distance. The dark cloud was coming again, bigger than before. The captain ordered all systems active. The ship glowed softly, its engines humming like a heartbeat. The cloud rushed toward them, and the battle for survival began. The dark cloud moved through space like a storm that had no end. It was wide and endless, and it looked alive. The Vanguard stood alone near the dead sun, waiting for it. The crew sat at their stations in silence, watching the readings grow stronger. The captain stood at the center of the bridge with his hands behind his back. He did not speak for a long time. The only sound was the slow heartbeat of the ship's engines. Then he said quietly that this is what we were built for. The crew nodded. They had waited for this moment since the day the first laugh was thrown at them. The captain gave orders to power the core to maximum charge. The lights dimmed slightly as the ship began to draw energy from the dying star. Outside, the dark cloud began to spread faster. It moved as if it had sensed the energy from the Vanguard. The fleet stationed far behind watched from their screens. Some of the alien commanders whispered that the humans were mad to face such a thing alone. The Krawl admiral clenched his fists, hoping that maybe the humans could do what no one else could. The Orions prayed in their soft voices for success. Every eye in the galaxy was now watching the slow human warship that once made them laugh. The cloud reached the outer layer of the trap. It touched the field and began to push through. The field started shaking and glowing as the creature's energy spread around it. The sensors screamed with alerts. The crew stayed calm. The captain ordered the energy redirectors to open. The special armor of the Vanguard began to glow. The ship was now absorbing part of the dark energy and converting it into raw power. The scientists on the support ships watched the data and shouted in surprise. No other ship had ever done that before. The cloud kept pushing forward, and soon it surrounded the Vanguard completely. The lights inside the ship flickered. The walls vibrated as if the creature was trying to break them from all sides. The engineer shouted that the energy level was rising too fast. The systems were heating beyond limits. The captain said, "Hold steady." The ship was built for endurance, not speed. It would not run. It would stand. The crew worked without panic, following orders as they had trained. The cloud made strange sounds like whispers echoing through metal. Some of the crew said it sounded like voices calling their names. The captain told them to ignore it. He said, "Fear is the weapon of the unknown." Minutes felt like hours. The pressure kept increasing. The armor began to glow brighter, turning from silver to deep red. The captain ordered the release valves to open. The energy stored in the ship was redirected to the external cannons. The beams fired not to destroy but to form a circle of light that wrapped around the cloud. The creature reacted violently, trying to break free, but the circle held it in place. The ship continued to pull more energy from it and from the star at the same time. The whole area filled with blinding light. The support fleets had to move further back. No one could see what was happening inside the storm of fire. Inside the Vanguard, the crew fought to keep control. Systems were failing one after another. Alarms filled the bridge, but no one left their post. The captain stood still, watching the readings. When the energy reached the red line, the engineer shouted that one more surge and the core would explode. The captain said, "Not yet." Then the ship shook as if hit by an invisible fist. Panels broke, sparks flew, and people fell. The captain slowly got back on his feet and said, "Now." He ordered to release the energy back at the creature through the main cannon. The core released all stored power in one massive wave. The beam passed through the circle of light and hit the center of the cloud. For a moment, everything was white. Then silence came. The screens went dark. The energy readings dropped to 0. The support fleets waited, holding their breath. Slowly, the light began to fade, and what they saw made them speechless. The cloud was gone. In its place, there was only dust shining softly around the Vanguard. The ship itself was damaged badly. Half of its hull was burned, and several parts of the structure floated separately, but the main core was still alive. The fleet cheered. The alien commanders who had once mocked humanity now shouted in joy and respect. They sent rescue ships immediately. When they approached, they saw the human flag still standing on the ship's top. The captain's voice came through, weak but clear, saying, "Mission complete. The threat is neutralized." The fleet carried the message to the entire galaxy. For the first time, all civilizations sent a joint signal thanking the humans. The slow warship had saved them all. Inside the Vanguard, the crew began repairs. Many sections were destroyed and several people were injured. The medical teams worked day and night. The captain walked through the damaged corridors, helping wherever he could. He did not act like a hero. He just smiled and told his crew that they did what they had to do. When the main systems were stable again, he sent a final report to Earth Command describing everything that happened. The answer came after a few hours. It said, "Well done, return home. The galaxy owes you a debt it can never repay." As the ship began the long journey back, the captain sat in his chair looking out at the stars. The silence felt heavy but peaceful. He thought about the Olyari and how their warning had been ignored. He thought about the council and the way they laughed at humans once. Now they would remember. Not because of pride, but because truth always stands in the end. He knew the battle had cost them much, but it also had shown what humanity really was. Far behind the ship, the dying star began to fade completely. The place that was once filled with danger was now quiet. The fleet left markers there to remind future travelers that this was where the darkness had been defeated. The aliens started calling it the light field. It became a symbol of unity. For a while, the galaxy found peace. Trade routes opened again and people spoke with hope. The humans were now seen as equals among the stars. But deep inside the Vanguard, strange readings began to appear again. Small energy pulses moved through the lower decks. The engineer noticed them, but did not report immediately, thinking they were just leftover waves from the battle. However, after several days, the pulses became stronger. They looked like heartbeats. The captain was informed. He ordered a full scan of the ship. The results showed a small fragment of the dark energy trapped inside the armor. It was weak but alive. The crew gathered in the control room. Some wanted to destroy the section immediately. The captain said, "Wait." He looked at the readings again and said, "Maybe we can learn from it." The scientists back on Earth agreed. They told the captain to keep the fragment contained and return safely. They wanted to study it to understand how it lived. The captain accepted, but warned that such things never die easily. The ship continued its slow flight home. The journey was long. During the nights, the crew sometimes heard faint sounds in the lower decks. Like whispers again. The captain told them to ignore it and keep focus. After many weeks, the Vanguard entered the inner systems. The planets of the human colonies appeared one by one, glowing under their suns. People came out to watch the famous ship arriving. They waved and celebrated. News of the victory had reached everywhere. The captain stood on the bridge as the ship moved through the atmosphere of Earth. He saw the oceans below and the cities shining. He felt proud but also tired. The ship landed at the main space dock. Thousands of people gathered to welcome them. The Council of Earth awarded medals to the entire crew. The captain received the highest honor, but he said that the real hero was the ship itself, and everyone who believed in it when no one else did. After the ceremony, the ship was taken for repairs. Scientists started studying every part of it. The small fragment of dark energy was locked in a secure chamber. Many experts came to see it. They said it might help them develop new technology. The captain watched them but stayed silent. He had seen what that thing could do. He hoped they would be careful. That night he walked alone near the shipyard. The stars above looked calm again. He remembered the first time they came to the galactic exhibition when everyone laughed at them. He smiled softly, thinking how the same people now called them saviors. He touched the metal of the ship gently. It was cold and full of scars, but it was alive. He whispered, "Thank you." The next morning, reports came from distant sensors. Strange energy signals had appeared again near the edge of the galaxy. The scientists said it was probably just residual waves from the destroyed cloud, but the captain did not believe it. He looked at the faint light of dawn and thought that maybe the darkness never truly ends. It only waits for another chance. But he also knew that as long as humans stood together and as long as the Vanguard could still fly, there would always be hope no matter how strong the enemy was. The story of the slow human warship became legend across the stars. Children in alien schools learned about it as the ship that proved courage and patience were stronger than speed and pride. And somewhere far in the black space, the last spark of the defeated darkness drifted quietly, as if remembering the ship that had once stood against it alone. The days passed slowly after the Vanguard's return to Earth. The world was at peace for the first time in many years. People across the galaxy spoke about the human warship that faced the darkness alone and survived. Every news network played the same image again and again, showing the old ship covered with scars yet still shining under the light of the sun. The crew became symbols of courage and unity. The captain tried to keep a low profile, but wherever he went, people stopped him to thank him. He smiled and said it was not just him, but every person who stood together that day. Still inside his mind, he could not stop thinking about the small fragment of dark energy that was kept under guard in the science division. He felt uneasy about it. Something deep inside told him that the story was not finished. In the research center, the scientists worked around the clock studying the fragment. It was kept inside a magnetic field that floated in the air. The energy looked like a small black flame twisting slowly. Instruments showed it was still active even though it had no source to feed from. The leading scientist said it might be the last living part of the dark cloud that almost destroyed the galaxy. Many thought it was a chance to understand what that thing was made of, and maybe learn how to prevent such dangers in the future. The captain visited the lab once. When he looked at the fragment through the glass, it moved as if it recognized him. A faint vibration passed through the floor. The scientist said it was only a reaction to temperature change, but the captain felt it was more than that. At night, the fragment glowed brighter. Cameras recorded strange waves spreading through the magnetic field. The readings were strange, but no one took them seriously at first. They believed the containment was strong enough. But after some days, small energy signals started appearing around the shipyard. Machines began to fail without reason. Workers heard soft sounds like whispers near the damaged sections of the Vanguard. The engineers checked everything but found nothing wrong. The captain was informed again. He asked if the signals were connected to the fragment, but the scientists denied it. They said the containment was perfect. The captain looked at them silently and said, "Keep watching it every hour without fail." Meanwhile, the Galaxy Council planned a ceremony to honor all species that fought together. Representatives from many worlds were invited to Earth. The Crawl Admiral, who had once mocked humanity, came personally to shake the captain's hand. He said, "You made us all remember what courage means." The Orion leader gave a gift of crystal light to the crew, saying it will shine as long as truth and unity exist. It was a moment of peace that felt like a dream. The captain stood before them all and said that humans may be slow, but they never stop once they start walking. The crowd cheered. The celebration went on for days. But deep underground in the research lab, the small black fragment began to grow. The magnetic field started to bend. The scientists noticed it but thought it was only a fluctuation. They increased the power of the field, but the readings kept rising. One of the young assistants said maybe it is feeding on something invisible. The lead scientist laughed and said there is nothing to feed on in a vacuum chamber. Yet as they spoke, the lights flickered for a second. The fragment pulsed like a heartbeat. The machine started making strange sounds. When they tried to shut down the system, the control panels stopped responding. The lead scientist called security, but before anyone could arrive, the magnetic field broke. The black flame expanded and filled the chamber with dark light. Every person inside froze where they stood as the energy passed through them silently. When the guards entered the room, they found everyone standing still with open eyes, but not moving at all. The fragment was gone. The captain received the emergency call while he was at the main base. He rushed to the lab with his security team. When they entered the chamber, they saw the frozen scientists. None of them were dead, but none responded either. It was as if their minds were empty. The captain ordered immediate quarantine of the whole facility. He looked around and saw strange marks on the walls like burns but shaped like veins. The black energy had moved somewhere. He checked the readings and realized it was heading toward the Vanguard. The ship was still being repaired, but it had power lines connected to the same grid as the lab. The energy was traveling through the system. The captain ran to the command post and shouted to cut the main power line. But it was too late. The ship's hull began to glow faintly. The workers inside ran out shouting that the lights were moving on their own. The captain reached the dock and saw it himself. The same dark glow that once surrounded the ship during the battle was now coming from within it. The old warship was awakening again, but not by human control. He ordered all units to clear the area. The engineers tried to shut down the internal systems, but the doors refused to open. The energy seemed to have taken over the ship's circuits. The captain stood at a distance and watched as the engines of the Vanguard came alive one by one. The deep hum that once meant life and victory now sounded like a warning. The sky darkened above the shipyard as energy waves spread around. Communication lines went down across the base. The captain called for backup from the Orbital Defense Command. They sent drones and heavy craft to surround the ship. The Crawl Admiral, who was still on Earth, joined him at the control post. He looked at the glowing ship and said, "Maybe the darkness never died, it only hid inside your machine." The captain nodded quietly. They decided not to destroy it unless there was no other choice. The Vanguard slowly lifted from the dock. It moved without crew and without any external command. The systems on board seemed alive. The ship turned toward the sky and started to rise. The captain took a deep breath and said, "We have to stop it before it leaves the atmosphere." The defense ships fired electromagnetic nets to disable its engines, but the nets burned away instantly. The ship's shields were active again, stronger than ever before. The captain ordered to focus on the main reactor section, but the weapons had no effect. The Kraul admiral suggested using their pulse cannons. The humans agreed and fired together. The combined blast hit the Vanguard directly, but the ship only slowed for a second, then accelerated again. The captain watched helplessly as the ship disappeared into the clouds, heading toward space. He turned to his team and said, "Prepare pursuit, we can't let it go alone." Soon a fleet of human and alien ships followed the Vanguard. They tracked it through the upper orbit. The sensor showed strange readings. The ship was radiating both light and darkness at the same time. The scientists who joined the mission said it looked like the energy inside was fighting itself. Maybe the ship's original systems were resisting the dark fragment that had taken over. The captain hoped it was true. He sent a message through all frequencies calling the ship by name. There was no answer. He tried again, saying, "You have served humanity once, do not let the darkness use you now." For a moment the readings dropped slightly as if the ship heard him. Then a massive energy wave burst from it, pushing the pursuing fleet back. The shockwave spread across the orbit, damaging several satellites. The Kraul admiral shouted that if they do not stop it now, it could become another dark cloud. The captain hesitated, but he knew it might be true. He ordered all ships to prepare their main weapons, but just before they could fire, the Vanguard stopped moving. It hovered silently above the planet. The light from its hull began to fade. The dark energy around it started to shrink. Then a message appeared on the fleet's screens. It was the voice of the captain's old ship AI. The voice said, "The core is compromised. We are containing it from inside. Do not attack. The energy must not spread." The captain froze, hearing the familiar tone. The AI that had helped them through every battle was still there, fighting inside the ship. The fleet watched as the Vanguard began to rise higher and higher. The captain realized what it was doing. It was taking the dark energy away from the planet into deep space. He tried to contact it again, but there was no reply. The AI kept pushing the ship further until it reached the edge of the system. Then a bright flash filled the sky. Every sensor went blind. When the light cleared, there was nothing left. The ship had vanished. The captain stood in silence. The Kraul admiral bowed his head, saying, "Your ship saved us again." Days later, the scientists confirmed there was no trace of the dark energy anywhere. The captain returned to Earth and looked at the empty dock where the Vanguard once stood. He felt proud and sad at the same time. People called the ship a hero. They built a monument in its honor, showing its shape made of silver and crystal. The captain often visited it alone at night. Sometimes he thought he could still hear the low hum of the engines in the wind. He knew that somewhere out there in the endless dark, his ship was still flying, watching and protecting them.